You know, the border has been a big issue for a long time for us here in Arizona, and joining us is the Sheriff of Cochise County. Sheriff Dannels, thanks first of all for being here.
Thanks, Mike, for having me.
Second of all, let's talk about the border from your point of view. It's got to be apolitical just as from a law enforcement point of view. What is your picture of the border, and how do you picture the politics of what's going on right now?
Well, you know, for 35 years I've worked in my county, and to us, you're correct, Mike, it's apolitical. We're part of the executive branch. We go out and we support our Constitution. We support the laws of the land on behalf of our citizens for that quality of life that they all expect. And to see what's going on in our country right now when it comes down to the division in Washington, D.C., it's sad because we're out there doing a job every day to stop the illegal activity that's coming through our borders, from the criminal transnational organizations, from drugs, human trafficking, which I call modern day slavery. That's truly what it is.
Absolutely.
They're indebted to these cartels. And people think they come across the border and then they're free in our country. That's not the way it works. The males go into the gangs throughout our United States. The females are indebted usually through the sex trafficking. I hate to say it like that, but it's true. It's $6,000 right now to come across our border. Per person, they get 3 attempts. So that's in debt. These people don't have that money, so they're indebted to these cartels. And you know, I watched Speaker Pelosi here a few weeks ago talk about there's no humanitarian crisis on our border. Well, when 60 to 70% of the people coming, the caravans that you see all over the news that are coming up, are being victimized, criminally victimized as they try to get to our southern border. The most things that the females are having in their purses and their pockets are birth control pills. Mm-hmm. Well, what's that tell you? 30 to 40% the females are being sexually abused. You got mothers dropping kids from 13 to 18-foot fences. You do that in downtown Phoenix, you get arrested for it, for child neglect. So I don't buy there's not a humanitarian issue on our border. There is.
When you look at the drugs, and that's something you face every day, yes. I read a statistic that in 2003, 10% of America's heroin was brought through Mexico. Now it's 90%, and obviously there's a lot more opioids coming across. You're dealing with fentanyl now, which is smaller amounts, harder to track. How bad is that in your county?
It's bad. To give you an example, just last Wednesday, we did a year-long investigation that concluded last Wednesday. We seized, it's a $1.2 million asset seizure, just on the cash asset side of it. We seized 12 pounds of heroin, 10 pounds of methamphetamine, half a pound of fentanyl, and numerous pills. This is an international drug ring that was coming through our county, coming around our county, into Phoenix, into Tucson. Our investigation led all the way up into Phoenix. So we don't think of the border anymore, and people shouldn't think of it as just the 31 border counties on the southwest border. It's a nation problem that we need to get our hands around. It's an epidemic.
When you look at what the fight in Washington now, whether it's about a wall or a barrier or a fence, how much would fencing help, would you think, in areas? Obviously, some places it's not practical, right. But in your mind, where there is barriers, do they work? They do. They do work. You look at Yuma, 91% reduction. I was just seeing the stats. You look at San Diego, they're all up in the 90% sector where crime has been reduced in these communities, these counties. In our county too, we've seen a big reduction there. It's the rural areas, which was a design plan by the federal government to push that criminal activity out into the rural parts of Texas, New Mexico, Cochise County, Arizona, where the cartels are now doing their illegal activity in these rural areas, and it's changed the culture for these folks that live in our rural areas, and it's a challenge. When you have you been approached by people, and I don't want to make you get political, but the president is saying there's a crisis. Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats are saying it's a manufactured crisis. Have the Democrats reached out to you for their position and asked you if there is a crisis? Are they asking the people that are on the border for their conclusion? Have you been asked? I have not been asked, and we're a focal part. Cochise County is a focal part. We've done some amazing things to make this a safer county. We've installed over 500 cameras. The military, we're the only local agency in the country that has military assigned to it to watch our cameras and work directly with us through analytical work. Sheriff Wilmot out of Yuma County, Mark Napier out of Pima County. No, those folks aren't coming to see us. And when I see Speaker Pelosi, I see other folks talking about what goes on our border, it's offensive, because we're down there every day. I've watched this border evolve to what it is today. It's the great work by the men and women from local, state, and federal law enforcement. We're doing so much good things down there, but we also see the crisis that our congressional folks are causing. All right, so my last question then is, if you had the bully pulpit, you had the opportunity to speak to leadership, what would you tell them about Cochise County and the rest of the border?
It can work, but we need a secure border. We do need a secure border. The Constitution talks about securing our country and our border. It is a humanitarian crisis, and it's a community crisis. Look at the drug epidemic in our country. I wish these folks that are pointing fingers at themselves in Washington, D.C. would come see us. Come see the people that live it, breathe it, and are working it every day, from the federal agents to our governor, who's been very stand-up when it comes to supporting us, and to the sheriffs on the border. We live it every day, and sheriffs represent communities. I mean, we should be experts at that. Come see us. Speaker Pelosi, if you're going to talk about my county and talk about what goes on the border, let's have a conversation. And then let's put that will back on the table, because what I see is will versus wall. Trump's talking about a wall, which is symbolic to secure the border, but I haven't heard the Democrats talking about the will. We got to have the will.
Excellent. Sheriff, I appreciate you coming and speaking to our audience here and being a voice of reason on the border. So thank you so much for coming down.
Thanks for having me on.
We'll be back.